Today I'm going to talk about the new language feature in Java 17 called record. Why do we need record? Let me show you an example to represent a student using Java's class. So in assuming we want to represent two information for the student, the first is the name of the student. So let me declare a field of name. So in the feature in object-oriented programming, every internal data are made private. So then we have a bunch of boilerplate to write. What's the initial value of the name and the age of the student? It needs to be using the constructor. Which does very little. Basically assigns the field value with the construct name, construct parameters, and age with the parameter as well to access any value. These two fields, we need to define the get method to get the name and get the age from the age field. So on and the most important other things like toString to have a string representation of the data. We need to write something like this. I'm going to copy from my pre-made guide here just to save a little bit of time. So on the other hand, if we use record, it will become much simpler. Let me just show you here. Student record. So that's it. That's pretty much it. We need to declare the field and name and age here. That's it. To show you how to use the record. So let's see. S2 is this is the how to use the record. The record name David and this age is 7. On the other hand, if we use the old class, it looks exactly the same. So you can, the record has a toString method which has a very readable outcome by predefined. So this is just pretty much one line of code in a record, and for the class there are at least like tens, like 15 lines of code at least. So that's a dramatic reduce of the boilerplate. The record is pretty much like a regular class. So if we want to add a method into it, so we want to know whether this is a primary school student, for example, is primary school student is in primary school. We can do that. Say its age should be smaller than 12. And if we want to validate the field before it's passing in, for example, the age shouldn't be a negative number, we can override the default constructor. Say student record. So you can say if the age is small, is negative number, go through age cannot be negative. Now let's just try to test with a negative number, negative age. So it will throw an exception to say the age cannot be negative. So the other limitations, for example, the record cannot have an instant variable. Say if we want to add, it is a grade, then it will report the problem. User declared non-static fields cannot is not permitted in the record. This is pretty